Welcome back to another episode of the Academy of Influence podcast. My name is Kian, the host, and in this episode, we have a guest and conversation that you don't want to miss. So we have Xingyu. She's a jazz music therapist and a Berklee alumna who blends the spontaneity of jazz with the healing powers of music therapy. Discover how her rhythmic roots and curiosity led her down this unique path. From debunking music therapy myths to the inspiring story behind her initiative ForeJazzx, she shares her vibrant journey and insights on making lives better with music and personalized care. So tune in for a lively conversation that hits on all the right notes. Let's dive right in. So welcome on the show, Xingyu.
Hello.
Thank you so much. So we both come from a music background. We're both from Berklee, but where you really stand out from most of the music people that I talk to is you are a jazz music therapist. Can you introduce yourself in your own words? What does a jazz music therapist do?
Introducing myself is always a challenging task to do because, like you, I also have so many different dimensions of my life, my creativity, my curiosity, and development. So, basically, I put two parts which I love together. With jazz, I feel jazz is a form of music style, also music philosophy, and also a way of living life that's focusing on improvisation. To me, jazz as a lifestyle is really focusing on first, you have to listen very attentively, very actively, and deeply because things change and move around all the time. I always feel music is that way. Music's active, it's constant creation, it's leading us to the future rather than we just follow what people created before and repeat them over and over again. So that's always what I feel. And the music education system I experience before I went to Berklee in China was pretty much the Western European classical music style that you repeat and then try to replicate the classic and to fulfill certain standards. So that I just feel it's not music. So searching for the opposite kind of leads me to going to jazz. And there's also other aspects. I love rhythms from a young age. I think when I was two or something, as soon as I could really handle the chopsticks well, I just started to use chopsticks and play rhythms everywhere. And I feel that's because of my parents, they're music lovers. And especially my mom, she had those records from around the world. And I feel because she was playing those before she had me. And when she was pregnant, she was also playing these during the pregnancy and continue when I grow up. So I feel these rhythms ingrained in me. That's also led me to explore jazz because I feel it's really allowing different kind of music style to meet and integrate and experiment, and also different people with different background to connect and really listen to each other. There's a friend, I have a friend who's a scientist in Europe. I invited him to some like online session during the pandemic, and after he involved in engaging my online music activity, he's like, wow, what you're doing is really musical democracy.
That's a very interesting term.
Yes, I was like, wow, I never saw it from that angle, but true, because to really have democracy is the foundation has to be everyone knows who they are, what they want, and knows how to express, and also knows how to listen to have a conversation. Otherwise, democracy wouldn't exist. But in really good jazz, I see the common characteristics. They're very good listeners and very good collaborators and building community, building something bigger than individual.
Can I chip in one question there? Because I went to Berkeley as well. I wouldn't consider myself a jazz musician, but I've been exposed to enough jazz to agree with you. Jazz really is about freedom, is about being in the moment. Now, my question is, do you think this can only happen in jazz, or can this also be done in other music genres, say Western classical music? Just for sake of discussion.
Yeah. Very good questions. I want to say it can be done, but at the same time, what's happening right now is the Western European classical music is taught in a style that's Like there's a rule, there's a standard you have to meet, there's absolute right and wrong. They don't really treasure individual to find their own voices or their own interpretation, but more like you have to just replicate what the teacher teaches you. So I hope to see it change in a way that encouraging collaborations.
So what I really want to draw back is what you explained about yourself being interested in jazz and how jazz shaped you as a person. And I can actually see that in you. I think I've known you for about half a year, and I can see the jazz influences in you. Like you're just really outgoing, you love to communicate, you love to connect. If I could put a personality on jazz, I'll say it's Xingyu.
Such an honor when you say that.
Personally, I see music more than just a genre of music. Rock music isn't just a genre, it is more than that. It can be a way of life, a way of thinking.
Yes.
Same with rap, same with metal, same with all kinds of music. So now moving on to the therapist part. So this is the part where I find really interesting, because in our offline conversations, I think I've mentioned to you that even though I went to Berklee, I never understood why people wanted to become a music therapist. So I think this is a very good opportunity to have it on record, to hear this from a music therapist herself. Like, so what brought you to the therapy part?
For me, it's a series of life events happen for my family or the people I care about growing up. Like I see how in the medical system, the challenge we face, for example, Alzheimer's disease, the end of life care, exceptional children, how school systems treat children with different kind of minds, and also what are the rehabilitation process looks like after a car accident, when someone had neural damage, and also mental health issues. Like I see and experience so many of those events, and I feel like there could be better ways than existing methods to help people to eliminate suffering and pain and provide much more efficient and effective and humane treatment for people. So I also ask a lot of questions growing up as a child. I want to know, okay, things are like this, but like, why is it like this? Okay, can we make it better? Is this the best way already? And when adults told me, oh, this is the best we know, I'm like, I don't think so. I feel there's could be better way. I always go on a journey to research about these things. And growing up, we had like bookshelf, like from the floor to the top, with all kinds of philosophy, like education, psychology, like Western Eastern philosophy. So my mom loved reading them. So my first inquiry happened with needing that bookshelf. And as a little child, I had a question like, I want to know more. I think we just scratched the surface. I want to go deeper. And she would direct me to, okay, let's try to find an answer in those books. And then when in middle school, I saw through all the books in the middle school library. And then it was not enough. Then the Shanghai library, like the university library, then I found still not enough. Then I went to Berkeley because I want to know the most advanced and cutting edge like research and treatment and medical advancement in the world.
So your motivation to pursue music therapy is a combination of your childhood experiences, the need to find out if there is a better way of doing things. And also I feel like you have that very natural entrepreneurial spirit, because I think most entrepreneurs, they always start off with the question, why? And then why not? And then how? Most people just stop at why is it like this, but they don't really take action, right? They just leave it.
Yeah.
So would you consider music therapy as part of medicine?
Yeah, it helps people across lifespan, from when a mother is pregnant with a child, because 3 months the child already can hear the sound through the womb. And even before that, the mother's mood and state of mind and body already affecting the child's development. And then we can do so much to help the mother to be in the best condition so that the child could develop optimal state. And because that's like in the womb, their brain is like wiring like fast. So we can use just even just music itself to help promote the best developing condition for the children. And then we combine with medicine, with neuroscience, with psychology. This intersection becomes music therapy. And so like from that to throughout development and even until the end of life, hearing is the last sense we lose when we pass away. There's so many we can do to eliminate suffering and provide better quality of life and really help people to flourish, not just survive, but flourish.
That's a very noble aim. Okay, so we just talked about why you got into music therapy. So now I have a question that I believe I can ask for quite a number of people who just don't really know what music therapy is, like what music healing is. My understanding of music therapy is two things. One is singing bowls and also a curated playlist. Oh, if you feel happy, you put on a certain playlist that makes you happy. If you want to go to sleep, maybe put on a white noise in a particular frequency and that puts you to sleep. But obviously, I'm sure that's just scratching the surface. So can you explain what's behind music therapy? Maybe explaining the science in a simpler way that most people can understand?
That's also a very challenging part. For example, I teach students the foundation of music therapy, and it takes us at least 16 weeks to have a basic understanding of the science behind it, right? What music therapy is based on, because it's really, I feel the modern music therapy is really based on the neuroscience advancement in the last decades, and it's still really new for most people. For me, like studying in Boston, like with Harvard, Berkeley, all those top scientists, and we were geeking about these all the time. For me, it's like, oh yeah, this is common sense now. But for I think 99.9% of people, it's like it's brand new. It's because these are all very cutting edge research. So it's really based on how an understanding of how music impact us on a physical and psychological and spiritual level.
So does that explain the curated playlist? Or is there something deeper behind that?
How deep can we go here?
Okay, so let me use another prompt to maybe if that can help you answer the
Yeah.
question. Because, like I said, I'm also a musician. I come from a music background. So I believe my understanding of music is a lot deeper than the regular consumer out there, especially my background as a film composer. So I understand the connection between emotion and sound.
Yeah.
So that is why I think it's pretty logical to think of it as having a curated playlist, playing the right kind of music for the right kind of scenario or condition. How would you explain it to someone with no music background?
Yeah, it's really challenging, but let's narrow down. Now I usually talk to people, like I will ask them, okay, how old are they? And what life stage are they in?
Mhm.
And maybe what kind of challenges they're facing right now in life. And then I will tell them, okay, how music therapy can help you. Otherwise, it's like so vast, right? From little baby to end of life and everybody in between. There are different approaches to help them. And also it always, so there is no one formula for everybody because music is very personalized. Like everybody, if we really engage with someone in their relationship with music, we'll find no one person is the same. Also in my clinical work, one song, two people can react to it differently. The imagination they have, the physical response they have, or some kind of memory will pop up because this same song, but I think 100 people will have 100 different response to it. So it's very personalized. When I meet someone, usually we do an assessment. I want to know the person. I want to know where they are, who they are, and their relationship with music, their music preferences, and how music plays a role in their life, because these can be their resources. And what challenge they're facing now, and also what resource and strengths they have. Based on these assessment, then I will create a music therapy. We have goal and we have plan to help them in a timely manner to achieve the goal they want.
So can I understand it as it's like going to a doctor? For most of us, if we don't know what our problem or illness is, we go to a general practitioner.
Yes.
If the GP decides that we only need some over-the-counter medicine, they'll give us something, an OTC prescription. But if what we need is something deeper, they would recommend us to specialists.
Yeah.
And then the specialist will scan you top to bottom, depending on where your problem is, and then give you, like you said, personalized prescription medicine or treatment to fix your problem.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like music therapy really is going into the deeper levels of healing.
Yeah.
Like you really need to know that person
Right.
inside out, their family history, their music preference, their psychological conditioning, before you can decide, okay, Backstreet Boys or singing bowls or go play a flute. Because I think the way you explained it, really, like everyone might have a very different treatment plan.
Yeah. And I think that's actually where the power of music therapy is compared to medication. Do you know there's with the pharmaceutical industry right now, they need to go through clinical trial, even surgery, they need to go through clinical trial to show the effects, how many people are cured with this kind of intervention, whether it's medication or it's surgery. But there's a trick in those clinical trial, the way they designed it and report it. There is a term called numbers needed to treat. Have you heard about it before?
No.
Okay, it means for one medication to be effective on this one person, how many people need to be treated for one person to show improvement?
Sounds like lab experimentation.
Yeah. And with the medication, with how the pharmaceutical industry is set up today, those number can be like 50, 100, 150. So which means, for example, with a painkiller, so the doctor will just like, oh, you have pain. Okay, just give you medication, come back in 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, okay, we'll get a higher dose, right?
Yeah.
And let's try again. If not work, the same for insomnia medication. So not every person gets the medication will get better. And it's set up that way. It's designed that way.
Okay, can I understand it as they have like a standard operating procedure in mind?
Yes, but the plan is not based on this person. The plan is based on the clinical trial and the procedure, the SOP they develop on the medication. They're treating the symptom, not the person. For me, I feel music therapy is really treating the person. Right? I see a person, you maybe have different symptoms, you have a struggle, but what is really the root cause? Let's find the root cause first. So assessment is actually a critical part. I think that's what a lot of people don't understand yet, because how the pharmaceutical industry is set up today, people are trained to like, okay, I go to the doctor and the doctor just asks a couple questions, do a couple scan or blood tests and just give you a medication that doesn't guarantee to work.
Yeah.
Because there's this numbers need to treat. You just imagine like 50 people got one medication for insomnia, only one person feels better, they still release the medication on the market.
I think maybe they're taking averages. Is like the fashion industry, how they split the population groups into extra small, medium, and large. Not everyone falls into that, but apparently based on their calculation on averages, most people fall into these measurements.
Average.
Averages, yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is medication have side effects.
Bad clothing fits have side effects too. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Well, the side effects, you waste the money. Maybe you just need to throw the clothes out or give it away. I think that's the side effect, right, of the closing. But with medication, have you ever read about any of the medication that there's a long list of side effects?
Yeah, it's not pleasant. It's not the kind of pleasant side effect.
And it's usually much more symptom than the original symptom you're trying to treat. So that's a problem of medication. And I won't say it, why did I bring the medication as a comparison? Is because on the other side, immunotherapy, when I meet someone, I evaluate, right, assess how the symptoms are impacting their life, their functions, maybe their relationship, their self-esteem. And then, but I see the whole person. That's the first. And then I create a plan that works for them because I have done the assessment very thoroughly when we first meet. Then I can really give them very tailor-made immunotherapy intervention rather than that pill that doesn't work for everyone. And throughout the process, when I offering them the intervention, I continue to do the assessment to evaluate whether this is working for them. And if it doesn't, we modify, we change immediately. So I think this process of immunotherapy is crucial to ensure I will make sure this actually works for you. And through the assessment, I usually can know how I can help and what the expected result can be over a certain period of time, because it depends on the issue, the challenge. Some maybe I had insomnia client, just one consultation, one session. The next day they told me they implement the plan I give to them, and they're like, "Oh my God, I slept so well."
Okay,
Yeah.
now that you mentioned the patient, right? This is something that I actually wanted to ask. Could you give us an example of patient that you treated from initial consultation to fully healed? Is there any examples you can share?
So what kind of patient do you want? Like someone had insomnia or Alzheimer's disease, or is like children with developmental delays?
Let's do insomnia because I think that's a problem that many people are facing. How did you start the treatment and how did it turn out at the end?
Okay, I want to share this patient is pretty typical. And okay, I'm basically making up with like different cases so we don't show the identity of the person, keep the confidentiality. So this patient came to me after struggling with insomnia for 6 months. And it was during the pandemic, and she felt like because of pandemic, everything is moving around. There was so much uncertainty and stress that caused the onset of her insomnia. So when she came to me, because she has exhausted all methods. So when she came to me at the beginning, I would gather all this information. For example, I asked her, how long has this problem bothering you? Is there anything happen right before the problem happened? So it helps me to identify the root cause, right? Because insomnia is also just a symptom. There can be like mental, can be physical, different reason to cause insomnia. So the first is I'm gonna collect all the information about her life and what might be causing the problem. And also I want to know what other methods she had tried. Her first action was to go to doctor, like to the hospital, to her general practitioner. And the practitioner gave her first like melatonin, right? That's the first step, like standard. And but she tried it, she fell asleep, but still the quality was bad. So she was able to sleep, but when she wake up, she was like, oh, tired, exhausted. And she also has another problem. She was grinding her teeth when she was sleeping. To me, that's a big sign of stress. Our jaw like holds so much stress, maybe anger, like unprocessed emotions. So that's my evaluation from hearing her symptom. So she went back after the melatonin didn't work. So the doctor gave her like prescription medication and she tried. She was able to sleep better, but her grinding was still the same. So when she wake up, her whole face was so sore and sometimes painful, and she felt like I couldn't function during the day. And she went back to the doctor again. Doctor's like, well, that's the maximum dose I can give you, but let me give you a tooth protector so you can wear at night because your tooth start to deteriorating because you're grinding so hard at night.
Mm.
But other than that, the doctor like, there's nothing more I can do from my medical training. That's another thing with the medical diagnosis. So when you get a diagnosis, it's just like, okay, there's a clusters of symptoms, so we can easily describe what you're going through, but it's not a root cause assessment, including like mental health, like ADHD or ASD. It's a description, so we can just use one word to describe rather than you have to go through the whole thing. But it's not the cause. The cause can be a million different things where we need to assess, right? We need to get to know the person. So that's her first attempt to go to the hospital. Didn't work. It took her a couple months because of going back and forth. And she started to try to use music to self-medicate because she loves music. She has a kid who plays piano at home. So she's like, okay, let me try all the insomnia music or music for sleep, music for relaxation. So she starts to search online, different platforms, different websites, and she started to listen like on a lot of like video website or music website. There are so many of those lists, like music for stress reduction, for sleep. But she became more anxious. Can you guess why?
So my answer to that is I imagine like if I was really stressed out and if someone comes along and tells me to relax, that's the worst way to get someone to relax. So I'm thinking maybe being in her state of high stress and trying to find music to relieve her stress, that's almost the same effect as someone telling her, relax. But it can actually worsen the situation than the help. At least that's my understanding.
Yeah, you are looking at it from the psychological level. Yeah,
Mm.
for sure. But for her, it's like she didn't feel those music calm her, and she looked at all the comments on those under this music or video. It was so good. It works for me, and she started to doubt herself. Is there something wrong with me? Like, why everybody is saying, "Oh, this is so relaxing, this is so helpful"? Like, I'm not. It's something like deeply wrong with me. And so she tried all those things. It didn't work. That's when she tried book an appointment with me. So all this information come from like the initial assessment when I connect with her. That's the beginning stage we did. So I asked her, okay, what kind of music did you listen to, right? And she showed me all the apps, the music she had tried. And she also said what kind of music her kids are playing. So for me, after knowing this, so I assess the physical condition, the mental condition, the life events, what's happening in her life. And then the next step is to find how does she respond to music? What are the music elements help her to relax? So we analyze some music, we play some music, and I observe her response and also like her own reflection. So that's the second phase. And then after that, I give her a personalized plan. I taught her there are certain relaxation technique combined with music. And I took all through the assessment, like I learned what kind of music elements, like little elements can impact this person. So the second phase is understand how all of these elements impact her. Then I combine all the elements that works for her and I create music track for her with guidance to help her become more aware of her muscle, her tension, her mental stress to release them. So it was sequenced, you can say, like a music combined with psychology, cognitive behavioral therapy, all that. That's the music therapy treatment for her. So I taught her how to use them and make sure she mastered them so she can use it every night before going to bed. And that helped her.
So it sounds to me that insomnia is a very common problem that people usually think it's a medical problem. And like you mentioned, most people's first reaction is to go to a medical doctor to get pills.
Yeah.
But it sounds like big. But the thing is, doing pills, going the pill route, is I think most people, if given a choice, they would try to stay away from taking medication because who likes medication? It's chemicals. It makes you feel like something is wrong with you. But the way you shared how you treated her with the music therapy, it sounds like it's a very natural way of treating a very natural problem.
Yeah.
You are using sounds that exist in this natural world, but the only difference is you had to understand her enough to know what kind of sounds or in what order the sounds should be presented to her to be able to help her.
Yeah, and also know the person. I feel there's another therapeutic impact in music therapy is there's music, right? There's this relationship also. Like the relationship I built with her, that she felt heard and supported, and I was able to give her like different advice than her doctor was able to give her, and offer guidance. So it's not only music but integrate music with psychotherapy. For example, with this one specific case, it was cognitive behavioral therapy. So there are it in itself it's a whole psychotherapy method, but I've learned to integrate it with music, so it's much more powerful. I feel that's like everything combined. So it's music, the relationship I built with her, the rapport I built with her, and the personalized treatment plan, the psychotherapy elements. It's everything integrated. And a deeper understanding of how music really impacts us physically and emotionally, spiritually. Yeah.
That sounds so intellectual. It bears me to ask this question: what kind of people are suitable to pursue music therapy? Because I know I'm definitely not that candidate, but I'm just curious, is there a kind of ideal personality trait or skill combination someone should have to pursue music therapy? Because it sounds like it's not just driven by passion, driven by interest. This one, it sounds like there's a lot going on inside here. Like there's the music part, there's also the academic part, there's also the science part, there's the psychology part. So what fits a music therapist personality trait?
Ooh. I feel that in itself is a research, but okay, let me try to share some based on like my experience, right? Because after we go to Berklee, we also need to apply for the music therapy program and do another round of audition interview. So I feel that's where they're selecting people who are suitable for the profession. So first off, music, right? You have to love music. You enjoy playing and you master a couple of instruments and want to constantly grow as a musician. And then you also feel this interest to help others. Like I feel you see when you help other people to become healthier, more vibrant, happier, more successful, you feel a satisfaction. I feel that's what can get you continue grow on this career and feel satisfaction go on this path. And also because there's so much science involved, I feel you definitely need a science interested in science and want to learn how to do research and case study, thinking scientifically, learn statistics and research methods. And then there's this personal skill, like interpersonal skill. If you don't like people, well, that's probably not a good profession for you because there's a lot of the building the relationship. Sometimes are challenging relationship because the other person don't have the capacity to build relationships yet. So these are what I say, like if you want to become a music therapist, these traits are quite important. Now, like because music therapy has become trendy, like in some way, I would say false information on social media that they're advertising music therapy as like a way to just make money. I'm like, no,
Hmm.
that's you can make money, but don't come to music therapy because you just want to make money, because you will suffer, your client will suffer, and you won't enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it's the same for music as well. If your goal is just to make money, then music might not be the best place to be, because it has a very steep career curve, and you need to go through a lot of obstacles to be able to get to the point where you're actually making money. So passion is definitely one thing for music, and also passion for service.
Yeah, because music therapy is getting the traction now, and there are definitely some, I would say, pretty scammy scammy party information, that they are not emphasizing the person enough. Like basically, they feel like, oh, music therapy, this name is getting traction, right? Yeah.
Mm.
And now because it's getting attraction, getting eyeballs, people would like try to just extract money, extract the value from it by really changing the meaning, real meaning of it. Yeah.
Mm.
And yeah. So just want to point that out because I'm seeing this phenomenon on the rise.
So I'm glad you shared in this podcast, and I hope that if this episode blows up, then you heard it from us here. And I hope this actually helps people,
Yeah.
guide them through their career selection, because nowadays, if you have the kind of personality traits that you just described, then I think music therapy could be a very good option, given that you like helping people, you like interacting with people. It's an option. So definitely do read up more on it and see if it's suitable for you. Okay, now that we've come to the last part of this the podcast, I want to talk about one initiative that you have. It's called ForeJazzx. Is that how you call it? ForeJazzx. You even have a logo right behind.
Right. That's actually one of my students made it.
Ah,
Yeah, one
nice,
of my 10-year-old students made it for
nice.
me. Yeah, the initial idea really, I could see the seeds planted in 2016 when I was still at Berklee, and they founded the Institute of Creative Entrepreneurship. I feel that's where they ignited the entrepreneurial part of me. They hosted a 1 week of like Shark Tank style competition, and there were a whole week of different, you can say, CEOs or like artists, organization leader who are using arts, music as a catalyst for social change. So they gave us mentorship and coaching and like a week full of amazing sharing and documentary and all that. And at the end of the week was like Friday evening, 7 p.m. They host this Shark Tank style of pitch. And I pitched my idea and I got selected. There were 3 people selected, 3 projects. And then we went on to become fellows next year for the Abu Dhabi Global Culture Summit. And yeah, so we flew there and I met more people with people from around the world who are using arts, music to really transform the world, the life. There were musicians, artists, political leaders and policy makers and investors, just like, but people who share the same mission. So that's the seed there. And then like busy classwork, right? So after graduation, I worked in Boston, and it was interesting. In addition to regular seeing clients, I also got involved in a couple of program that creates a brand new music therapy program for people who had never experienced music therapy before. And then pandemic hit. I was thinking about, okay, how do I bring in what I'm capable of to more people? Is there a way to scale? And at the time I thought about AI, because that's like 2020, that's the hype. Long story short is I found AI is not the solution. It actually creates more profit than the solution because it tried to extract the human out of the equation. And that itself can be a whole other story, but long story short, it's like that. And I feel like I want to come back to human connection. It's through education. So the Music Health Institute is really focused on the education side of my work, to creating programming, creating workshop, creating training for people who want to learn how to use music to improve their own life, the people around them. I would say this program I'm providing is really, I often think about me 15, 16 years ago, like back in Shanghai, I was looking for the answers. If at the time I encountered this program, I would be like, it's that kind of program. And I feel it's also based on everything I've learned, the best thing I've learned from all my wonderful professors and mentors at Berklee. And they still support me. They are on the advisory board of this institute. So it's the whole like last decade of learning, exploring, curiosity, entrepreneurship, and bring them together, creating programmings that I believe and based on experience and science that will transform people's life.
Wow, what a way to end the episode. I think that really sums up who you are as a person. Going back to the three key points, jazz music therapist. I think that's a very inspirational approach to a lot of people trying to find their own footing in the world, because nowadays I feel like everything is so diverse. It's about how you can combine different skill sets and create a new and unique path for yourself. So thank you so much for your time today, and see you next time. Bye bye.
We will see you next time. Bye bye.